Why, hello there. I am Ricky, the Watcher. I bet you were expecting Denny Colt. Nope. Gotcha again. I probably quote George Bush more than anyone else on this channel. I know you wouldn't expect that from a comic channel. And I'm going to do it again. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on you again. No, but seriously though, what are we reading this week? The Spirit. This one's called John Marston. And I actually really liked it. The only thing I'm not liking about these Spirit videos is that the comics are not in order because this is some sort of anthology. Now, for trigger warnings for this week's episode, normally with these Spirit ones, I have some pretty bad trigger warnings. There's usually some racial epithets or something, but surprisingly, there's none of that this week. In fact, there's not really too much negative in this one this week. I guess gambling, threat of death, violence, kind of normal stuff for a detective comic, compared to some of the warnings I've had to give about the Spirit in the past. So this one, this is probably going to be a pretty fun episode for everybody. Like, if you can watch the 90s Batman cartoon, you're not going to be offended by anything in this one. Now, of course, for whatever reason, if you'd like to turn away from that one, I'll invite you back next week when we're going to be doing He-Man, Masters of the Universe. I actually forgot I had this comic. The He-Man movie came out, and then I was going through my comic collection and it stood out to me. I think that's one I got for free when ordering comics from someone else. They threw it in there. And this one says it's the official prequel to the upcoming Amazon animated series. So anyone who really enjoyed that series, you'll probably enjoy that episode. You'll probably want to see what's in there. So make sure to come back for that. Without any further ado, let's get to the story for now. Welcome back. Here we are again with Will Eisner's The Spirit. And I gotta tell you, I love The Spirit. The Spirit's one of the reasons I started doing this. Now, you may notice, starting off, the artwork on this, it has this beautiful gold city overlay, and the picture wraps around perfectly from the back to the front. It's one seamless transition of him at, I'm assuming, Willowwood Cemetery. But you may also notice the Spirit himself, he looks a little, his eyes are a little off. He looks a little silly. He's got some sort of flying plane car. I gotta tell you, the story we read today doesn't have that car, but I'm hoping it comes up. You know, I didn't notice this before. I thought it was some woman, but I think that's Ivory in the back. And they made him yellow. This is the way I conceived the Spirit. A man who could think his way to a solution, but could also get into a free-for-all and prevail. Will Eisner. Suddenly, a tall figure stands in the window. The Spirit, shoot! You got a bunch of gangs there. That's a really weird perspective. And I hope there are colored spirits out there. If so, I'm going to try to get some. But there are a lot in this series, so... Alright, so we start out here. Spirit, the origin years, number 2. This guy's like, what about carrying a gun? And he's like, oh, I gave that up years ago, as he looks at his hat full of holes. I mean, it is true, he got here without a gun while being shot at. I guess, having a gun wouldn't have stopped that, really. It hasn't really given a reason why he doesn't use a gun. I guess other than to be macho. But next you have one of these letters. And I gotta be honest, these, oh god, I do not like reading these, but they're really important for the history of the comic, so I'm gonna suck it up. Setting up shop. Will Eisner debuted as a professional comic book artist. Met with something less than resounding success. The periodical that published his work? Wow! What a magazine! Went belly up after 4 issues. Under ideal conditions, most magazines face early cancellation, but wow. Labored under the dual burden of the depression and the fact that the publication was neither fish nor fowl. Comics composed only a portion of WOW's content. The rest was given over to articles, fiction, and hobby columns. But the 19-year-old Eisner, determined to forge a victory from the rubble of WOW, responded to the magazine's cancellation by displaying the tenacity and innovativeness that would mark his career. His first step was to approach Jerry Iger, Wow's suddenly unemployed editor, about forming a partnership to capitalize on what both men believed to be the prosperous future of original comic book material, which had heretofore comprised mainly pre-packages of previous published newspaper comic strips. In that sense, this comic book is not very different from those early comic books. Well, that's kind of cool. See, I told you, like, this is kind of annoying to read, but it's actually a lot of cool history in here. Eisner's plan. He would create the material, and Iger would peddle it to the client publisher. I was out of work, so I had some time to sit at home and think about things, Eisner said. I don't think it took a genius to see the way things were shaping up in the comic book field. At WOW, Iger was looking for original material, and other publishers were entering the field. And they were going to be using original material. The idea I had was to supply complete, finished stories to the publisher, because that's what I had been working towards in my own work. What I was doing was emulating the pulps, which had complete short stories in every issue, and I really enjoyed that aspect of them when I was growing up. I thought that approach would be great in comics form. Iger was initially reluctant. Embroiled in divorce, I guess he's getting divorced at the time, he wanted to avoid sinking money into what was undeniably an entrepreneurial venture. I'm not going to be able to say it better than that, I'm sorry. Risky given the times. Seeing Iger's hesitation, Eisner attempted to reassure him by, among other efforts, fibbing about his age. Eisner was 19, but he told Iger he was 25. He found out when we drew up the papers of incorporation, and I had to tell the truth about my age. But by then, things were far enough along that it didn't matter. Eisner said, though not well off by any definition, Eisner put together the cash, $35, which covered the first few months' office rent, and that's where it ends for today. Mid-sentence. So, you want to see what happens in his story? Come back for the other spirits. You know, it would be funny if someone watches these just for me reading those forewords. I mean, like, honestly, if that is you, you're welcome. So, weekly comic book, The Sun. Oh, that's cool. Baltimore. 3 complete stories. So, this is actually like the print that was in the paper. That's awesome. That R looks weird. Like, normally, that's one thing about Eisner is he has beautiful calligraphy. His calligraphy makes me feel like a epileptic chimp when I compare it to my own. And this is probably the first time I've had any criticism, and that kind of looks like a B. And it's not even the calligraphy, it's the shadowing under it. With those coins. Doesn't look like anything real is written there. Little Will Eisner signature, spirit on the dollar. Believed dead, Denny Colt, a young criminologist, was buried. 24 hours later, he awoke, broke out of his grave, and as the spirit, has continued his fight against crime. And if you want to see the origins of that, we have it up here on the channel. Somewhere in the heart of Manhattan, a grim drama begins with words that usually signify the end. Your wife will die in 1 week, unless she is taken to a dry climate, say Arizona. So I'm guessing she has tuberculosis, like Doc Holliday. They never really say outright. And this guy, I don't know, kind of looks like he's on the phone now. I mean, the doctor was behind him a minute ago, as he's crying over his sick wife. Then, doctor, you better write out her death certificate now. I haven't a cent for travel money. I'm broke. And she's like, No, wait, Johnny. By the way, the name of this episode, Johnny Marston, published June 30th, 1940. That's our Johnny right there. I've been saving some money. A few pennies at a time. Here, John, it's all that's left. $28.41. That should be enough. Yeah, it's enough to get you a cheeseburger meal here in America in 2026. He's like, darling, yeah, sure, don't worry. And if you're wondering if that's enough to travel back then from, I think they're in Manhattan, no, it's not. He's like, the doctor's standing there now looking at him. Love the shadowing here, makes him look really freaked out. $28.41. Funny, isn't it? Why, it won't even pay our fees, doctor. And then as the doctor's walking off, now you know better than that. I'm too much of a friend of the Marstons to accept a fee from you. Don't worry, kid. It'll work out. You'll think of something. Then there's always charity, you know. And then Johnny, he's mad. He's clutching that $24, which just must be in the smallest bills possible. Charity? The famous Marston name on charity list? If only Father hadn't gambled our... By heavens, I have it! I know where I'll get it, yes! What have I to lose, a last chance? So, as he's remembering, lamenting really about his father, I guess he used to be famous, his father gambled away his money, and he didn't even get through the thought, he's like, I'm gonna go do that too! Literally gambling with this woman's life. I mean, I guess she's dead either way, but... What? An hour later... Yeah, and who are you? Tell Tony it's Johnny, Billy Marston's son. He'll remember the name. My father lost enough money here. Come on, let me in. I got a wad, see? Yeah, that's what you want to tell the gangsters. Look at my wad. Marston, okay, kid, come in. We'll have your father's picture up in the men's room. Why, Johnny, haven't seen you since your father died. Heard you're down on your luck since you married. Course, business has been bad without your dad here. Cut it, Tony. I didn't come here for a touch. I want to play. And that's one of those sayings like, this is why you gotta be grateful that you have gay people around you, because people used to say stuff like that and just not realize how incredibly gay it sounded. I didn't come here for a touch. I want to play. Like, without context, that just sounds concerning. Don't look now, but there's Johnny Marston. Well, well, following in his father's footsteps. Right to Tony's gambling den. Yeah, this cool one of Johnny's face imposed over this roulette wheel, which is a horrible way to gamble. So this is a pretty interesting setup here. They have the kid's face over the roulette wheel. Here's the roulette man's face, and here's their silhouettes in the back. Let's zoom up in on this one. I mean, that's a really beautiful panel. I love, like, the abstractness of it. That's what gives it so many of these, like, this, like, dream-like quality. So, what'll it be, kid? $28.41 on red. All of it on his first bet. He's like, red it is. You win, mister. Double it. Johnny wins. Double it. Johnny wins. Double it. Johnny wins. Win. I've got to win. I've got to win. I've got to win. I've got to win. And then you can just imagine coins falling everywhere. Hour after hour, the dice roll, and the roulette spins a golden web, chaining Johnny to his chair, even after the rest leave. And he's like, I've enough. $1,000. I'm going home. Now my wife will live. And this guy puts his hand down over his as he's reaching for the tokens. Just a minute, kid. Think maybe you better play one more hand with my deck. He's like, I won it. No, I know your trick. You're going to win it back. And then the slick dude walks up with his dicky popping out. Look here, sucker. I'm in the racket to make dough. No one's that broke can come in here and clean up $1,000. Now beat it. Or does Monk throw you out? He's like, you crook, you crook. And Johnny, like, look, he's all clenched up here. He starts choking the guy. He's like, I'll kill you. That money's for my wife. And the guy's like, help, Monk. Get him off of me. So he just goes up and slugs him in the face. And his face literally disappears. He's like, tough guy, eh? And then another one to the back of the head. Slug. Hey, you big monkey. I said get him off me, not kill him. Get the car, quick. So they're speeding over this bridge here. We'll dump him in Willowwood Cemetery. No one ever goes there. At Willowwood, the limp form is pushed to the muddy roadside, unaware that the spirit watches the gangsters speed on. And he's right there, just sitting in the rain for some reason. He's like, poor kid. I think he's still alive. Later, when Johnny awakens, where am I? In a tomb, the home of the spirit. How do you feel, kid? I like how he talks like everyone just knows him, and this is one of the superheroes where I think everyone just knows that it's Denny. So yeah, I think everyone does know him. He's like, a tomb? The spirit? Am I dead? Nah, kid, but you sure came close to it. And they make him look really creepy here. Those crooks stole my... I know. You repeated the story over and over while you were delirious. I think it's time the spirit did something about those gamblers. What do you think the spirit's going to do? And as the rain ceases, the tall form of the spirit heads across the muddy cemetery on an errand of vengeance. Dark night. So, at police headquarters, bring, bring. Hello? Who? The spirit? Yeah. What? The gambling racket? Take my advice. Lay off. I'm not scared, but those guys have influence. Besides, every time we raid them, they just start somewhere else. What? Of course I'd like to get something on one of them. Okay. I hope you know what you're doing. And that's the police commissioner who's just been very, helpful to Denny. Later, at the gambling hall, yeah, who are you? And the spirit's reaching in, choking the guy. The spirit, open up. It's the door guy. He opens the door on the guy's head, and he's like, don't struggle. A little fresh air won't hurt you. Oh, look, he's got a top hat on and a fancy tuxedo. So he's dressed different. He's dressed like a Conan villain. He's like, a masked man? Hold up. And he's like, just continue what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to play Faro. And he's like, deal, pal. And deal straight. So I guess that's why he has the top hat on. Top hat is casual spirit. Even though he just beat the shit out of the guy at the door. So he's like, deal, pal, and deal straight. An hour passes. You cleaned us out. The bank is broken. The pile of chips and money shifts to the spirit's table. Leaving a dumbfounded audience, the spirit calmly walks off, his pockets bulging with money. Amazing. Never been done before. 50,000, not bad for a start. Diamond in. You win. Thanks. I can't read that. He broke the bank. Well, I'll be. Want to play another hand? Can't. The house is broke. Closing up the joint. That guy's broken the bank. 300,000. Not bad. Just one more place to visit. Hello, Mike. Round up the boys. Spirit is cleaning up the town. We gotta stop him. So apparently there's not one gambling hall in this town. There are many. And the spirit's going to them all. At Tony's gambling den, frightened gamblers meet to stop the spirit. He's coming here. Cleaned up 800 grand in 3 hours. Shut up, all of you. We'll set a trap. Clean the house. We'll be guests. So as the spirit enters, Tony's grim silence greets him. Come in, Mr. Spirit. Oh, a reception committee. The boys around town tell me you've been pretty lucky. Like to play with me? And he's like, certainly, deal. You can see he's dealing from the bottom of the deck. And with an incredible speed, a gun flips into the spirit's hand. Dealing from the bottom. Ow. That's funny. So he does use guns. That's why I thought it was weird in the beginning. I guess he gives up guns later. Because he certainly has no problem using them in the very first comic. In the comic they put that comic in. Well, you let them have it, boys. And he gives a nice kick, flipping the table over. I didn't think you were fool enough to try a crooked game with me. Bang, he shoots the light out. A trap, tisk tisk. A split second later, the spirit dives. And look, he's on the second story. And he's breaking out a window, diving into his car. And I would like to remind you that this is just a normal guy. He doesn't have powers. He didn't really come back to life. He's just a guy. He's just a normal guy. But he's got that badass freaking parkour. Follow him. Hey boys, he swiped all the dough. He won't get away. I guessed he'd beat it. So I got the whole mob out in cars. Step on it. I want to be there when they croak him. Through the city streets, the spirit races. Bang! Oh, wait for me. And there are a bunch of cars that are swerving around. With 2 cars racing after him, he heads north across the square. And he goes and he flips the deck real quick. He's like, whoa, another. Once again, he swerves, but each street is covered. The gang cars close in. The spirit is trapped. So he's sitting there like peeling out, doing donuts. You got this 5-way intersection. They all got really nice cars in them. So, I love this shot. You see the spirit in the middle, the car's closing in, and it has like a mobster behind every car window. Again, Eisner's dreamlike quality to his work. He's like, good, he's trapped. He'll never get out. We got him. Yeah, but what's your plan to do with him? And then Denny, he's looking all badass, looking over the windshield of his car. Where are the police? Dolan would fail me at a time like this? Oh well, gotta get out of this myself. Here goes. And, you know, you're the one that created a bunch of work for them, so you shouldn't be surprised. And I guess the car jumps. Here he comes, blast him wide open. Look out, he's gonna crash. He's gonna crash. I see, he went up the curb, bounced off it to get around that car, now he's gonna slam that one. But he jumps out at the last minute and grabs one of these fire escapes, and he swings up as the car crashes under him. In a flash, the spirit climbs to the safety of the rooftops as the police arrive. And he's like, at last, it's about time, as he's got his foot up looking over the edge at him. Stick 'em up, all you guys. You, Tony? Come on, down to headquarters. What for? I was only cracked up. You're under arrest for the murder of John Marston. In another part of town, you say, Johnny sent all this money to me, but where is he? Downtown. He'll be home soon. At police headquarters. Here's the body of John Marston, Tony. We found him in Willowwood Cemetery. He's like, I didn't do it. Before he died, he wrote out this statement, saying that you and Monk beat him up and dropped him in Willowwood. Of course, Monk was killed in the auto crash, so... You know what's funny about this is Johnny actually attacked them first. So Monk's dead? He did it. Monk. I tried to stop him, but Monk was always a killer. I admit I robbed him. Okay, let Monk in. I heard you squealing, rat. Commissioner, I'll tell the whole story now. He's like, well, Monk's alive. And Johnny starts laughing. And he's like, now that they've signed their confession, I guess I'd better get home to my wife. And he's like, Marston? Alive? And the commissioner's like, yep, I'm so accomplished in this. I did so much. And he goes and he's giving him, because he's younger than him, a little pat on the shoulder there. Those two will get a nice stretch for intended murder. Good luck, kid. And remember, keep away from gambling, even when you're in a jam. Especially when you're in a jam. Never gamble anything you're not willing or able to lose. So several days later, long after sundown, a mailman paces nervously before Willowwood Cemetery. Well, I'll be. The only address on this letter is The Spirit, Willowwood Cemetery. Must be a joke. And a hand reaches out. He's like, gone? And it's Denny Colt. He's behind the tree looking at the letter while the mailman is freaked out running off. Which, it could be a little nicer to the guy. You need him to bring you mail, I guess. Which, according to my state's residency law, since he has gotten mail at the address, he can now prove residency and claim squatters' rights. So you have this beautifully written cursive letter. And this just used to be how everyone wrote. Dear Spirit, I will never be able to thank you enough for saving my wife's life. That's just what you did when you helped me get that money. I am keeping only a little of the money. The rest is going to charity. I expect a job soon, and the doctors here say my wife has an even chance. They never say her name, I'm realizing. God bless you, John Marston. And a tear comes to the spirit's eye, and a big grin, because he knows that he has indeed saved the day this time. Follow the adventures of the spirit. And that's all we got for this week with the spirit. Well, this has probably been one of the best spirit comics. And a relatively short video for how long these take. But that's all we have today. So let us get to the final thoughts on this issue. So what'd I tell you? Huh? That was probably like the best spirit story I think we've had on the channel so far. I mean, there's a few I enjoy more just because he's such a ridiculous character. He's kind of stupid. And there's a lot of stuff that was like unintentionally funny or just really stupid in the other ones. But I mean, like, solid story. Like, if you wanted to explain to someone who the spirit was and make them understand he's a superhero, this was a pretty good episode to start someone with. Just basic. He just saves a guy. He's happy he saved the guy and his wife. Kind of touching. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't surprised the gambling hall, like, wasn't going to let him win, which just makes it seem sadder about his dad, like, but you're doing something illegal, you gotta figure they're gonna cheat you, and the house always wins. And still, it was only $1,000. Like, they weren't gonna let him walk off with that. They knew he wouldn't come back. That's why gambling, the only game statistically you're likely to win is blackjack. And you gotta walk away after you make a little bit, because they'll see it and they will try to quickly screw you out of your money. Like, if you go in and you try to turn like $50 into $200, you could probably do that. I wouldn't go beyond that in a daily visit to a casino. Although you probably shouldn't visit any casino daily. I mean, gambling is bad and bad for you. Just like anything in life, never risk losing something you can't afford to lose. Only go there if you have extra money. That kind of was the problem with these characters. They didn't have extra. It was literally what they're living off of. The guy's dad literally put them in debt. I was really happy by the end of the story, though. I really liked the ending. I was really satisfied. I mean, this is what you want from a hero story, right? But again, I would like to thank you. Your patronage helps me out, you sticking around this long. Anytime you watch, share, like any of my videos, it helps me out. It helps me get closer to my goal of having this channel be successful. And of course, it helps me share more fabulous art with more of the world. Again, I'd like to invite you back next week when we're going to be doing He-Man, Masters of the Universe. And I hope if you're a He-Man fan, you're excited for that. But until then, stay safe, and I hope to see you here again very soon.